ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is video number 3 on wonders of bioelectricity in human beings and other be- organisms. This video starts with reactions of electromagnetic and bioelectromagnetic fields on plants and humans. Besides interacting with the humans and animals, electrical and bioelectric fields also exert influence on the objects considered inanimate or inert. Each man carries his specific biomagnetic field which interacts with the fields of the individuals around him and also with the material substances in his contact. To begin with, we shall discuss the effects of electromagnetism on various life forms. Dr. S. Nehru, a government officer living at Etawah, Uttar Pradesh, India, has carried out large-scale experiments in electrically charged plant cultures with encouraging results. He has found that electromagnetic fields have a remarkable effect on growth of vegetation. He exposed saplings of different plants to electromagnetic fields by using wire nets and electrically charged water for irrigation and found that the targeted vegetation recorded better growth and fructification than other plants. Extending the scope of his experiments further, among us the human beings, he could cure many patients of chronic diseases by administering electromagnetically treated water. By making infants wear electromagnetically treated metal necklaces, he succeeded in providing relief to them in teething troubles and several other diseases. In his experiments, he used small solenoids for producing feeble electromagnetic fields. It is seen that exposure to human bioelectric fields is as much necessary for growth of flowering plants as are proper soil, fertilizers, and irrigation. Crops around the farms, hutments of farmers, and adjoining habitations are found to be more productive. Trees on the verge of dying out show renewed growth when human beings and animals begin to live nearby. Handpicking of leaves in certain plants increases their productivity. Tea leaves and leaves of green gram are traditionally handpicked. Chapter 7. The chemistry of attraction between opposite sexes. Mind and body are intimately interactive. Thoughts arising in the mind produce reactions in the body. On the other hand, activities of body influence the mind. The phenomenon of exchange of sentiments through physical contact, caressing, embracing, kissing, etc., is also a commonly experienced example of the kind. On entering a foreign human body in course of kissing, the respective charges associated with secretions from mouth and lips of each individual create a momentary attraction in the other body for their native place of origin. This phenomenon is discussed in detail in a later chapter of this book. Biomagnetic currents entering each other's body by way of kiss or by parentage, that is, from parents to their offsprings, tend to seek a reunion with their native places of origin, like a larger magnet attracting the smaller one of same polarity. This biomagnetism finds an expression as a feeling of love between two persons. However, the stability of mutual attraction depends on the compatibility of biomagnetic fields, empathy of the interacting individuals. Unless the two interacting fields are mutually complementary, the attraction does not continue for long. The biomagnetic fields reject the incompatible alien particles after a short period. Unless accompanied with strong sincere desire, the small bioelectric charge exchanged during a casual interaction kiss or sex is neutralized in the large bioelectric fields of the recipients like donated blood assimilating in the large bloodstream of a patient. This is why for lasting conjugal relationship and love norms of morality prohibit promiscuity and premarital sex and recommend monogamy. However, whatever be the mode of physical interaction between two individuals, there is always a possibility of receiving negative traits during contact. It is all the more harmful since negative thoughts, being more penetrative, are the first to pollute the mind of the receiver. Chapter 8: Influence of human biomagnetism on residential buildings. Residential structures too do not remain uninfluenced by the biomagnetic fields of the persons occupying them for long periods of time. It is found that a building left unoccupied for a long time deteriorates faster than a similar structure inhabited by people. This phenomenon appears contradictory to common experience of unused articles retaining their usability longer than those being used frequently. The mystery lies in the strength being provided to the constituents of the building by the collective biomagnetic fields of its residents. Places frequently visited by people having identical temperament and objectives create specific biomagnetic fields in the surrounding area, subtly energized with similar ideologies, thoughts. The specifically charged fields thus formed around individuals and places are termed their idiospheres. The influence of this invisible idiosphere is observed in everyday experience. A feel of peace and serenity prevails at places of worship and pilgrimage, relaxation and happiness at venues of entertainment, for example, festival halls and picnic spots, and fear and apprehension at places associated with death and violence, war zones, and cemeteries. After a prolonged stay, the idiospheres of houses begin to vibrate with ideologies, thought waves conforming to their inhabitants. The subtle constituents of attitudes and temperaments of these occupants retain their marks on the surrounding ambience for long periods after their departure from the place. On entering a house, experienced yogis can easily have a perception of the characteristics people who are living or had lived at that place. Entering a house charged with righteous thoughts of good people, one feels inspiring peace and soothing energy. On the other hand, where wicked and malicious people had lived, the idiospheres vibrate with disturbing thoughts. On spending some time at such places, one would be startled by having malevolent thoughts contrary to one's normal temperament. Lonely beaches, mountains, and virgin islands unpolluted by idiospheres of crowds provide tranquility. Idiospheres of places where violent or brutal acts had taken place do not change for ages. Nooks and corners of buildings where criminal activities, arson, forced abortions, tortures, murders, or similar banal activities had taken place, sob and wail. At such places, sometimes sufferings of victims of cruelty manifest into fearful, haunting, and terrifying dreams. Certain residential structures have a notoriety of being ominous or haunted. Occupants of these buildings feel apprehensive or suffer mental unrest for no apparent reason or face disturbances by poltergeists. A peep into the history of such structure would connect them to some past disturbing event. Some resident or residents of the buildings might have undergone prolonged physical and mental torture, or the thought of the building might have evoked deep anguish in a related person living elsewhere. Residents of places vibrating with violent mental agonies of their earlier occupants cannot live peacefully, with the exception of a few having strong willpower. An ordinary person feels uneasy at such places. Chapter 9: Why some places become haunted. Each somatic cell of body has a natural capability to develop into a full-grown individual. Remember Dolly, the first clone of sheep produced in a laboratory. Given a suitable environment, units of bioelectric fields of human bodies are capable of producing identical bioelectric clones of the related individual having similar appearance and temperamental characteristics in the event of death when the soul departs. Whereas the physical constituents of the body disintegrate, the bioelectrical particles do not disperse for long periods of time. The residual bioelectric fields continue to live in the erstwhile residence of the dead person. If a building is left unoccupied for long, unless otherwise disturbed by new visitors finding an appropriate environment, the bioelectric particles of its earlier occupant reproduce independent bioelectric clone, etheric double or energy body having personality of the deceased. A single particle is capable of developing into such an entity, in spite of the soul of the dead individual having found the body of a newborn elsewhere in the next birth. The residual bioelectric field sometimes continues to persist at the place of his or her living as an etheric double. Ghosts of some past presidents are said to still haunt certain parts of White House in America. The so-called Pranika clouds, energy bodies, ghost spirits, phantoms, apparitions, poltergeists, pretas, and jinns are often independent creations of a few bioelectric particles of long dead persons. However, because of having partial constituents of bioelectric particles, these energy bodies need not have all characteristics of the past living persons. In spite of having an appearance similar to the shadow or image of the latter, their activities may differ. Such virtual dynamic images found in long unoccupied residential structures need not always belong to their earlier occupants. Stray bioelectric particles may sometimes drop in at deserted places and finding a suitable ambience to develop into images even or seen or regarded by people as ghosts and spirits. Residual memory sometimes make these images replay past activities of the dead person. For instance, the astral double of a pianist may be heard playing his favorite compositions on his instruments in his unoccupied house long after his death. Such phenomena were reported from Las Vegas in America. If a long unoccupied building is visited by a small number of persons, their bioelectric field sometimes agitate the energy bodies living at that place into greater activity. However, if the number of persons is large, the collective charge of their ionospheres forcefully push these images out from the place. Thus, the phenomena of sightings of ghosts or mysterious moments are indicative of development of bioelectric particles of some living or dead person into an active virtual image, unless intensified by prolonged presence. These manifestations can be easily erased through cleansing and disinfecting and thermal radiations produced by herbal sacrifices in fire and chanting of Vedic mantras during the sacraments of yoga and occupation by a large number of strong-willed persons compels these apparitions to quit the place. Chapter 10. Bioelectric conductivity in jewelry. Women across the world are by nature fond of jewelry. Ornaments enhance their beauty. These bejeweled decorations also serve a commonly unknown purpose. The jewelry on our body interacts with external bioelectric field in space. The space around us contains an invisible bioelectric field. Particles of this field play a significant role in sustaining our body physically, mentally, and emotionally. Metallic substances are good conductors of bioelectricity. The inexpensiveness of certain metals such as brass and iron is not simply because of their physical properties but on account of their being poor conductors or retainers of bioelectricity. By experience, humankind has learned to prefer gold and silver for making jewelry. Had greater utility of these special metals seen Had greater utility of these special metals been a criterion of evaluation for making jewelry, steel being more durable and utilitarian would have been costlier than gold and silver. Similarly, nickel being more lustrous would have been more expensive than gold. Gold is considered so valuable because it intensely attracts subtle bioelectric charges from space and hence remains shining even after being used for long. The subtle components of bioelectric energy acquired by silver induce tranquility, steadiness, and relaxation to mind. Silver bracelets worn by women in legs reduce cravings for sex. Divorced and widowed women can easily resist an allurement of for illicit sex by wearing heavy bracelets of silver in their legs. Women who are compelled to stay away from their husbands for long periods should also wear some silver ornaments for enduring the separation. Wearing gold jewelry makes one energetic and glamorous. It adds luster to face. Women particularly like their face to be shining and glowing. Wearing jewelry in nose and ears serve this purpose. Since temples and cheeks are more sensitive to bioelectric charges, in order to touch these parts, gold earrings should be worn in the lobes of the ears serve this purpose. If gold jewelry is worn in the upper part of the ear, it stimulates parts of the brain, creating restlessness. In this way, not only gold and silver jewelry make one more attractive, it also contributes to emotional stability of the wearer. From the point of view of emotional health, copper is as beneficial as gold. A gold-plated copper ornament is as useful as jewelry made of gold. An alloy of gold and copper would be a still better option. Jewelry worn around throat, chest, and heart invigorates the heart. Perhaps for this reason, a pendant is attached to the necklace. Men who may not like wearing jewelry may at least wear a gold ring. A ring prepared with intertwined wires of copper and silver attracts uplifting bioelectric waves from space. Jewelry prepared with an alloy of 8 specific metals, Ashtadhatu works like a live magnet of bioelectricity. Ashtadhatu is a very powerful conductor of bioelectricity. However, its advantage lies only in wearing a small ornament like a ring on the finger. Wearing large jewelry of this metal is likely to produce insomnia, digestive disorders, or psychological problems. Bioelectric conductors of jewels. Greed and attachment of man to an article is directly proportional to its value. The more is the value of an object, the greater becomes the reluctance of its owner to part with it. Because of this fact, a currency of successively higher denomination carries greater load of bioelectric charges. The same principle holds true for jewels. Jewels are generally possessed by rich and prosperous persons. The bioelectric fields around such persons are highly charged with unethical practices. In such environments, their jewels to absorb related charges. If a jewel is kept by a great sinner or a cruel person, or it has been forcibly taken away from a greedy miser, it carries with it bioelectric particles of that person, which often influence the psyche of the person who subsequently acquires it. On the contrary, if it were owned honestly and without carrying anybody's emotional attachment, it may induce beneficial effects. This is the mystery behind certain precious stones being considered lucky or inauspicious. Some jewels bring prosperity to its wearer. A few turn out to be extremely unlucky. The famous diamond Kohinoor is known to have brought misfortune to all its owners. Hence, it has become customary to examine the long-time influence of jewels beforehand by keeping them in possession temporarily. Keeping jewelry is harmful for pawnbrokers. In India, giving advances of cash against mortgaging jewelry is considered inauspicious for business. There are numerous instances of pawnbrokers following such practices becoming bankrupt and frequently suffering from some problem or other for no apparent reason. The factor responsible for these phenomena is the disturbing bioelectric charges associated with the ornaments that are mortgaged. Women are very much attached to their jewelry. Parting with their ornaments is a very unpleasant experience for them. They would allow their jewelry to be mortgaged only under some compulsion and will keep on worrying till they receive them back. On account of frequent telepathic transmissions, bioelectric charges of their gloomy emotional waves go on accumulating on their favorite ornament. Since metals have the property of retaining bioelectricity in large amount, the pond jewelry becomes saturated with charges, creating disturbance in the minds of the pawnbroker. Whoever acquires a reluctantly given or forcefully taken article cannot escape the consequences of misery experienced by its rightful owner. The unhappiness polluting the article disturbs the equanimity of its keeper. Chapter 11, Bioelectric Conductivity of Metal Currency. Currency changes hand frequently. Everyone loves money. Therefore, bioelectric charges of thoughts of numerous persons get associated with the currency being handled by them. Often, money passes through hands of such persons who part with it reluctantly. This helplessness to sticks to the currency. Forcefully or cruelly snatched money becomes soaked with the misery of the loser. Metals being better conductor of bioelectricity, each coin carries with it a large burden of varied feelings. It is said that each rupee has in it a kilowatt of power. This saying has some degree of truth in it. The crowd of thoughts on the currency continues to exert its influence on the minds of the holder. Thought at a varied degree depending upon the nature of the holder. When there is a purse full of cash is in the pocket, 1,000 mischievous thoughts arise, and mind keeps on jumping from one subject to another one subject to another, whereas when it is empty, the mind is an entirely different state. Although the numerous thoughts accumulated on a currency, especially metallic ones, are capable of influencing the thinking process of its holders, since money keeps on changing hands frequently, the effect on individuals is momentary. The psychic impact of currency depends on its value. The higher the value of currency, the greater its period of storage with a particular person, the more it becomes charged with the thoughts of that individual. Using counterfeit currency is harmful for psyche. The receiver of such currency feels irritated, is enraged with the person who passed it on, and feels remorseful for his own stupidity in accepting it. The financial loss too makes the receiver unhappy. Looking at such currency, frequently the receiver of counterfeit currency saturates it with such mixed feelings of annoyance and gloom. So, not only on moral grounds but also on psychological grounds, it is advised for one's own good as well as for the welfare of others to destroy a counterfeit currency. While deliberating on some problem, concentrating on some activity, or carrying out some religious ritual or meditation, it is necessary to keep cash away from one's body. Otherwise, with a lot of money around, it would not be possible to concentrate on any subject. While traveling, only minimally required cash should be carried on person. While going to bed, too, purse or money should not be held on the clothes on the body, nor should money be kept on bed or under the pillow. Otherwise, there may be disturbance in sleep because of bad dreams. Dear friends, you must think and contemplate on these very important aspects described and explained in these lines, because we are always having disturbances in mind, and these are the factors which are causing these disturbances in our day-to-day life. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Next video will be on bioelectric conductivity of clothes. Thank you, dear friends.